Well, hey everybody, Mr. Reeves back with you, and in this lesson, we're going to be talking about solving for y. So we did a lot of equation solving. We recently did some inequality solving, and we're going to be solving inequalities in two variables. And before we actually do that, sorry, not solving inequalities in two variables, graphing inequalities in two variables. Before we do that, I wanted to take a step back and talk about solving for y. All right, because sometimes you are going to be given equations that are not in slope-intercept form, and you might decide that you want it to be in slope-intercept form. So, for example, all of these equations here are not in slope-intercept form. I guess a better way to say that would be none of them are in slope-intercept form. So let's go ahead and talk about taking an equation and writing it in slope-intercept form by solving for y. All right, and I'm not going to do these in the order they have them because the order they have them makes absolutely no sense to me. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start right here with number 7. Now remember, our goal is to solve for these y's. We are trying to get those y's by themselves, isolated, okay? So we're going to use inverse operations to get that y by itself. So what do I have here? I have 9x plus 3 times y. Remember, we do the opposite operations in the opposite order. All right, now we're not solving for x. So this x here, I don't want to get that by itself. It's with the 9x. My goal is to get the y by itself. The 9x is being added. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract 9x. So we're used to only having one variable and solving for that one variable. But now that we've got two variables here, focus on the one we want, and the variable is just going to travel with this coefficient. All right? So that 9x is eliminated because we subtracted 9x. What's left? 3y. Okay? Now 3 and 9x are not like terms. Now if I wrote it exactly how it is, I would write 3 minus 9x. But remember, our goal is to get it into slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. So I'm not going to write 3 minus 9x. I'm going to write negative 9x plus 3. Notice the 3 is positive, the negative 9x. The minus 9x is going to give me a negative 9x at the beginning. Okay? Now my goal is to get y by itself. It's multiplied by 3, so what am I going to do? I'm going to divide everything by 3. Remember, when you are adding or subtracting, you simply add it to both sides. When you are multiplying or dividing, you have to multiply or divide everything in the equation. So I'm going to divide this by 3. That's going to give me y. A negative 9 divided by a positive 3 is going to give me negative 3x. And 3 divided by 3 is going to give me 1. So I get y is equal to 3x plus 1. All right, so I should have done this earlier. I'm going to do this real quick. I'm going to pull up my Desmos graphing calculator because I want to show you how if I graph those two things, I'm going to get the same thing. All right, so our first inequality that we had was 9x plus 3y equals 3. So I'm going to go ahead and type that in. 9x plus 3y equals 3. All right. And then when we solved it for y, what did we get? We got y equals negative 3x plus 1. All right, and you can see I have the same line there, right? So that proves that I solved it correctly because they have all of the same solutions. Okay, so what we're doing is we are simply writing it in a different way that, hey, now if I want to graph this, then it's in a way I like a little more. Okay. All right, let's do another one. Right here, similar idea. I'm trying to get that y by itself. I'm going to subtract away 2x from both sides. Again, the variable that we are not trying to solve for, it's just going to travel with its coefficient. All right, I'm not trying to separate the 2 and the x. I'm trying to separate the 3 and the y. So here we go. So those are going to cancel. That's going to give me 3y equals, and again, I could write 3 minus 2x, but we're looking for y equals mx plus b, so I'm going to write negative 2x plus 3. All right, and then what am I trying to solve for? Y, so what do I do at this point? I divide everything by 3. And what do I get? I get y is equal to negative 2/3 x plus 1. Y equals negative 2/3 x plus 1. And guess what? If I put this in Desmos and this in Desmos, we're going to see that they have all the same solutions. They are equivalent equations. All right, now this one's going to be a little more tricky over here because of that minus there, but not too bad. Okay, now again, my goal is to get that y by itself, so I'm going to eliminate this x. If I were going forwards, right, what would I do? I would plug in y, I'd multiply by 2, and then subtract it from x. So going backwards, I'm going to eliminate this x by subtracting x from both sides. X minus x, that's going to give me 0, right? So what's left here? Negative 2y is equal to, now again, you could write 4 minus x, and that would not be incorrect, but I'm going to write negative x plus 4, all right, because I want to put it in slope-intercept form. And now I'm going to divide everything by negative 2, okay? Divide by negative 2. Okay, and I get y equals, now what do I do with this? Well, a negative divided by a negative is a positive, all right? And I certainly could write x over 2, and then 4 divided by negative 2, that's going to be negative 2. And that is not incorrect. That is perfectly correct. But if I want it in slope-intercept form, I'm looking for y equals mx plus b. So I want a coefficient in front of that x. So let me ask you, all right, dividing by 2 is the same as multiplying by what? Dividing by 2 is the same as multiplying by 1/2. All right, so there we go. So this actually, if we're looking for slope-intercept form, that would be what we're looking for. All right, this one right here, very similar to this one right there. I have a minus 2x minus y equals negative 3. I'm going to go ahead and add 2x to both sides. Those are going to cancel. Now be careful, it's not y that's left, it's a negative y. All right, and then again, negative 3 plus 2x is going to be the same as 2x minus 3. Now what do you do when you have a negative y and you want a positive y? Well, you either multiply or divide by negative 1. Well, I prefer to multiply. So I'm going to multiply this side by negative 1, and I'm going to multiply this side by negative 1. Well, negative times a negative is a positive, and then when I multiply a negative 1, when I distribute that through, I get negative 2x plus 3. Excuse me. Negative 2x plus 3 is equal to y. All right. Whoa, I didn't mean to do that. Every now and then, you're going to have to do some other simplifying before you solve. Remember Mr. Reeves saying simplify before you solve? So right here, for example, I could distribute. It wouldn't be a bad idea. By the way, just a reminder, you could divide both sides by negative 2 as well, because 18 is divisible by negative 2. But Mr. Reeves suggests that you simplify before you solve, because it always works no matter what the coefficients and the constants are. All right, so I distribute. See, I distribute that negative 2. Now, again, what's my goal? My goal is to get that y by itself. Here's a minus 2x. I'm going to go ahead and add 2x. There we go. Negative 6y is equal to, again, negative 9 plus 2x, but I'm going to write 2x minus 9. All right, and then what's my goal? To get that y by itself. So I'm going to divide, but what do you divide? Everything. Again, when you multiply or divide, you divide everything. Now be careful here. Y is equal to a 2 divided by a negative 6. That's going to simplify. Positive divided by a negative is going to be a negative, so I'm going to write it as a negative 1/3 x. All right, subtracting a negative divided by a negative. What's a negative divided by a negative? That's going to be a positive. Now, 6 does not go into 9 evenly, but what does go into 6 and 9? That's 3, and I get 3 halves. All right, so lots of fractions in that one. All right, let me do one more over here. Okay, 5y plus 8 equals 2y minus 3x. Notice, what do I have? I have variables on both sides. I also, by the way, have constants on both sides. So I'm going to have to clean this one up. Remember, when we're trying to solve an equation with variables on both sides, we need to get them on the same side. We're going to subtract the smaller one, right? The term with the smaller coefficient, I take away 2y's from each side. So I get 3y plus 8 is equal to negative 3x plus 5. Now remember, what's my goal? To get this y by itself, whoops, wrong color, to get this y by itself. So what am I going to do? How about I subtract 8 from each side? All right, that gives me 3y is equal to negative 3x minus 3. All right, and now what am I going to do? I need to get that y by itself, so I'm going to divide everything. Everything is going to get divided by 3. I get y is equal to negative 1x, or just the opposite of x, minus 1. There we go. All right, I think I'm going to do the solving inequalities for y in a separate video. But I hope this video helped you learn how to solve equations for y and to write them in slope-intercept form. Until next time, have a great day. Bye.